So our first storyteller tonight is our last winner from last month. Everybody please welcome our winner from last month, Mr. Larry Mitchell.
Story. So this is a form of travel that is a little bit older. It's foot travel. This is a story I'm going to tell about taking a hike. And so back in the 70s when I was in college for the first time, I had a summer job at Chile, Colorado camps. And that was out in Estes Park. The camp backed up to the Rocky Mountain National Park. That was the back border of the camp. It was an incredible place to live and to work for the summer, or 4 summers there. But the first summer I was a hiking counselor, and I led groups of kids into the national park, and kids that were like 11 to 14 years old. So on one particular nice morning in June, there was 14 kids that set out on a hike, and me and another counselor. And the other counselor was the veteran counselor, and I was kind of in training this first summer. He had grown up in the summers in Yellowstone National Park. His dad was a park ranger, and so he got to have the run of Yellowstone Park his entire youth growing up. So he thought that was he knew so much about the mountains. I was kind of in awe of his knowledge. So we started to hike this one morning. We drove into the national park in our Chile van, got out on the trail about 7 o'clock in the morning. And this particular day, we were going to climb 3 mountains. And these were part of a range kind of ominously called the Mummy Range. And from a distance across the valley floor, the top of the profile of the mountains looked like a mummy laying on his back. So anyway, that's kind of a little foreboding there of what's going to happen in this story. But so we had the first mountain that we climbed. It was called Chapin. And then there's Chiquita and Ypsilon, 3 mountains along this ridge. And so the first mountain, we climbed up this tundra, got through the trees and onto the tundra, or the place above tree line, and walked up this nice gentle slope to this nice, beautiful mountain. You could just see, just like forever, from the mountaintop. The kids were doing great, complaining, nobody was getting sick, and no altitude sickness. So we had to go down into a kind of a valley and then climb up the next mountain. And across this valley, it turned into boulders. It was just all boulders. We had to kind of hop from one boulder to the other. And we couldn't go down very far below this ridge because it was straight cliffs below us on both sides. So we walked across these rocks and made our second peak in good shape. The idea was to make the third peak and then have lunch. And so from the second peak to the third peak, again, we kind of went down in the saddle and started climbing back up again on boulders. And on both sides of us, ways off, were just cliffs, like 800,000, 1,200 feet. There's no, you had to stay up on top of this ridge, and we're above tree line. So we get to getting almost to the top of this third peak, which is 13,500 feet, pretty good sized mountain. And so we're looking over across the valley floor to the west. There's actually the Continental Divide is the next line of mountains over. And there's a few little clouds above those mountains. And when you're hiking in the Rockies, if you've done it, you know you really have to watch out for the storms because they can get on you, sneak up on you so quickly. A lot of times a storm system can develop behind a mountain if you're climbing that mountain. And all of a sudden you get at the top and you meet this incredible storm. So we were hoping that wouldn't happen on this day. So the kids are still doing good. Everybody's having a good time. We're kind of pushing up this last pretty steep slope. And we get up to the top and we unpack our little peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and our Kool-Aid and all that kind of stuff that we had for our very nutritious lunch. And I'm looking out across the valley to the west, and I'm seeing these clouds that are getting bigger and bigger. And the wind's starting to blow a little bit. And so I start talking to this head counselor, Steve, and I'm like, Steve, I think we may have some trouble here with these storms. And he said, we'll watch them. So about 5 minutes later, I'm still watching, and these things are starting to roll a little bit, and I think they're coming our way. And I go talk to Steve again, this time a little more urgently. He says, let's watch it another minute. So the third time I go back to him, I'm like starting to get just a little bit urgent. And he's like, I feel like I'm questioning his authority, I think. So he's like, no, that storm's no problem. It's going that way. And when he drug his thumb through the air, we heard a sound like this. And that was the sound of the static electricity in that storm gathering on his thumb. His eyes got really wide, and my eyes got wide, and we've got to get out of here. So we sounded the general alarm, and our kids packed up threw their lunches together in their packs, and even then we were trying to be environmentally conscious and not leave a litter trail. And so we got our stuff together, And as we were getting together, I tried something that I'd read in a mountaineering book, but I never had the chance to experience it. I moistened the tips of two of my fingers, like that, and I held them up. And sure enough, there was a little blue arc of electricity between my fingers. So I'm like, we're in trouble. So you're motioning to him, right? Not to me. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
He's like, come on, bring it, man. So,
Bring it.
I'm trying. So we started down the mountain, and we had to stay on these boulders. We couldn't go down because the cliffs are on both sides of us. And we were the electricity and lightning. Lightning is attracted to warmth and to moisture and to height. So in this boulder landscape, we are the tallest, wettest, warmest thing there. So we're like a lightning rod walking. And so we knew we had to get down to the trees, and we knew it was about 3 miles over these boulders. So we started just absolutely running across these boulder fields, and the rain came in. The lightning came in. We're hopping across these boulders at a jog. Luckily, nobody fell. The weirdest things happened to us. One thing was our hair, just like in the old movies, our hair was standing straight up on end. It was just so funny. We were almost laughing even though we were scared to death. And another weird thing that happened was on our Levi blue jeans, back in the days, they had brass rivets on them to hold them together. The electricity was gathering on the rivets, and it was burning us through that metal conduit. So that was quite the experience. We ran across these boulder fields, and the kids kept their wits about them pretty well. We were so worried somebody was going to get hurt. Luckily, nobody got hit by lightning, and when lightning gets close to you, there are ground currents that go through the ground, through the moisture, and can shock you and hurt you really badly. We managed to escape all those. We kept trucking. We got down. I think we made it down in 3 miles in 20 minutes. So I don't know how long. It didn't take us very long. We got to the trees, and we took a deep breath. We unpacked our soggy sandwiches, sat down to eat, and we were able to soon start laughing about it and realized that we made a memory that was going to last us a lifetime. That's what